Sri Lanka will never sign CEPA with India, an assurance from the Prime Minister.
Complaint filed by the subject minister that 3 billion rupees of the Ceylon Electricity Board's EPF funds have been misplaced.
Minister Faisal Mustafa says that local government elections will be held in March next year.
Heated debate takes place in Parliament between Kumar Welgama and Nimal Siripala De Silva. Hello and welcome. This is your primetime news bulletin coming to you live and direct from our Newsfirst studios here in Colombo on MTV and Shakti TV. Good evening and welcome. I am Shaheen Jurong.
A very good evening and Mahina Bongs, and a very good evening to all of you watching us here on Shakti TV and on MTV. We start off the look at your top story for tonight. A walk to mark International AntiCorruption Day commenced in Colombo under the auspices of President Maithripala Sirisena today.
International Anti-Corruption Day, which is marked on the 9th of December every year, is being held this year under the theme Break the Corruption Chain.
The walk, which commenced from the Vihara Mahadevi Park in Colombo, arrived at Independence Square. The program was organized by the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption, civil organizations and several state institutions. A pledge was delivered at the end of the walk to fight against bribery and corruption.
As a government, there may be certain shortcomings, there may be certain delays and weaknesses. However, corruption, anomalies, fraud and bribes cannot fall under that category. I welcome the bill to make the required amendments to strengthen the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption. I was one of the MPs who raised his hand for the establishment of this Commission back in 1994. I will present the statement which was presented to me on the amendments required for this bill to the Cabinet and then take measures to get it passed after being tabled in Parliament.
A website to enable the public to lodge complaints on bribery or corruption was launched at this event. Awards were also presented to several persons who contributed to strengthen good governance in the country.
Employees attached to the public sector, posts, railways and banking sectors continue to voice their protest over certain proposals made through the budget.
Trade unions attached to the postal service demonstrated opposite the postal headquarters today against curtailing the rights of the public servants.
Through
the budget, the government proposes to abolish the pension that was enjoyed by the public servants of Sri Lanka for over 75 years. The budget proposed a system where the public service will be no more in the future Sri Lanka. Restore all that was curtailed through the budget. If not, we will commence our struggle.
Railway employees demonstrated today against the negative aspects of the budget that would affect the railway service.
Ranil Wickremesinghe said that the benefits would be included into the basic salary before the end of September. That has been forgotten. Public servants have not been given any benefit from this budget.
The All Ceylon Peasants Union organized a demonstration against the curtailing of farmers' rights.
Before the third reading of the budget takes place, we request that the fertilizer subsidy be provided to the farmers as it was done before.
Demonstrations also took place against the curtailment of benefits for the banking sector through the budget. It is in this backdrop that a number of trade unions are resorting to trade union action on the 15th of December.
What we call for is for a discussion to take place so that all the negative facts in the budget will be removed and it will be amended accordingly. We need to move forward as a country. If that is not accepted, the trade union action on the 15th is inevitable. The government is breaking the promises it made to the people one by one. Power is being given to the large local companies and international finance companies. These things have been included into the markets and the relief for the people have been taken away. We must note that the government is not undertaking a revolution but a counter-revolution. Government revenue, which stood at 19.2% in 1994, has been reduced to 10%. Government revenue needs to be increased, and that is why such increments have been included into the budget. There is one thing that was hidden away from the people, that is the debt amount of the country. We have to pay 1,345 billion rupees in debt per year. 35,000 billion rupees was allocated for the fertilizer subsidy last year. This year we have increased it to 37,000 billion rupees. You cannot say that the benefits were curtailed. Additions have to be made to the basic salary. The issue is that the budget cannot operate under the present financial status. That is why there is an addition to the pension. The country's economy will be strengthened and the government's revenue will be increased. For that, this inclusion needs to be done.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe made a special announcement in Parliament today.
The Government Medical Officers Association alleges that the Sri Lankan government is attempting to sign the CEPA agreement with India under a different name. We condemn this act of making false and baseless accusations and deceiving the general public. The top tier of the GMOA did not take part in the 8th of January revolution. They were protecting the Rajapaksa regime. I assert to the chamber once again that our government will never sign the CEPA agreement under any circumstance and that it won't be signed under any other name. The government does not agree with the clauses that were included in the CEPA by the previous government of Mahinda Rajapaksa. The government will enter into an economic and technical pact that is favourable to Sri Lanka. In addition to reaching a pact with India, we also hope to reach an agreement with China and Singapore as well. Before we reach an agreement, we will have discussions with the trade unions and inform the party leaders and then obtain cabinet approval. Everything will be revealed to Parliament. The GMOA is harassing the patients for voting for President Maithripala Sirisena and defeating the Rajapaksa regime. I announced to Parliament that the Employees Provident Fund and the Employees Trust Fund will not be amalgamated and that the funds will not be taken away from the Central Bank of Sri Lanka. The government has not taken any decision to cancel or amend the pensions of the public servants. We announced that the concessionary vehicle permits for the public servants will not be made void. It is difficult to include 10,000 rupees into the salary. However, we will hold discussions to reach a solution for that. If the price of petrol is doubled, we can find the funds for all of these. If we are to increase the prices of vegetables and add more tax on milk powder, we can pay all of this at once. But it cannot be done. The people of this country will not remain silent when things like this are taking place. The people of the country would take the respective measures in order to protect the good governance of the country as well. Trade union issues need to be resolved. We will resolve all issues that we can. We are prepared to hold talks with the others. There is no issue. If they continue with these things, persons who do the deeds of the others will not be able to do so. In order to ensure their existence, some of the top tier of the Government Medical Officers Association continue to appear on behalf of the Rajapaksa regime. I ask them to think of the existence of the country rather than themselves. We will not leave room for a counter-revolution.
We are not opposing the friendship between Sri Lanka and India with regard to the agreement that had been reached with India. Please discuss your stance with the opposition with regard to the negative impacts that it might have. I request you to call for the discussion before the departure of Malik Samara Wickrema.
If we are able to pass the working committee proposals by the 19th, we can present it all to the respective working committee. We will inform the actual opposition leader and the shadow opposition leader about this.
I know. Royal.
Still in local news, a complaint was filed with the Criminal Investigations Department today citing that 3 billion rupees of funds of the Ceylon Electricity Board that was invested in treasury bonds had been misplaced.
The complaint was filed by Minister of Electricity and Renewable Energy, Ranjit Sembalapitiya. The minister states that 3 billion rupees of the Employees Provident Fund of the Ceylon Electricity Board had been given to a private company to be invested in treasury bonds in 2009. A communique issued by the ministry points out that the account statements of the Central Bank for the 31st of December 2014 does not include the said funds. Investigations have revealed that in 2014 itself, the private company in question had obtained the investment from the Central Bank in order to sell the treasury bonds. The communique from the ministry states that approval from the Ceylon Electricity Board was not sought for this purpose. The complaint was filed with the CID based on facts revealed following an internal audit carried out at the ministry on the instructions of the minister.
Retired Judicial Medical Officer Professor Ananda Samarasekaran, who carried out the initial post-mortem examination on the late Wazim Tajuddin, presented a report to courts today.
Presenting a report to the Magistrate Court, Professor Anand Samarasekara said that he cannot be held responsible for the disappearance of certain body parts from the freezer at the morgue used for post-mortem examinations. He went on to note that the freezer at the morgue was inspected along with the officers of the Criminal Investigations Department upon the instructions of the magistrate, and that it was revealed that the freezer was misused following his retirement. Accordingly, the report he presented states that these parts have been misplaced as the freezer has not been used in a proper manner and that this had taken place following his retirement. We inquired from the current judicial officer, Dr. Ajit Tennakon, with regard to this issue. He stated that the retired official did not mention the exact place where these parts were stored. He added that 2 minor staff who were given the responsibility to be in charge of the body parts by the retired professor denied that they were given the responsibility. He went on to know that he had presented a report to the court on this issue. Minister Rajitha Senaratne talks about the murder of Tajuddin and says that 3 videos are available on how they bring him from a vehicle and put him to another vehicle and kill him afterwards. We say that before anything, DIG Anwar Senanayake should be arrested. He is the one who closed the case. The former DIG was the hero at the time of Gotabaya Rajapaksa.
Rajapaksa කාලේ hero.
People hide when they see him. The government should make sure that this case won't be closed even after it is revealed as murder. Proper action should be taken. We said that the individuals who tried to close the case should be taken into custody. We continue to call for that.
A heated argument broke out between MP Kumara Welgama and Minister Harsha De Silva in Parliament during the budget debate today.
2,200 buses were imported on a lease basis, and it is claimed that a commission of $10,000 was taken from each bus. After we lost, I explained to the President that I won't be joining the national government. I was the first person to leave, and I still maintain that policy. So they sling mud at me while everything is in perfect order. If $10,000 was taken in commission, they should sling mud at the officials. 1,899 individuals who are employed as drivers, conductors and technicians are engaged in other duties and not what they are contracted for. No proper procedure had been undertaken to resolve the EPF and the ETF issues. Now MP Welgama said that the revenue earned from the leasing buses were insufficient to even maintain them. Those were imported to be operated in the Central Hills. However, the wheelbase of that engine is long. Therefore, the track bends. You do not know about that. You are aware of all things and we are not. However, you who knows everything could not even pay the EPF and the ETF. That is what I am saying. We accept that challenge. You did not do it when you were in office, and now we need to do it. Your problem is that I accepted this challenge. I am not ready to change my political journey based on what you say. You make your decisions and I will make mine.
Addressing a media briefing at the Sri Lanka Freedom Party headquarters today, parliamentarian Lakshman Senaviratne expressed the following views.
We are trying to change the constitution and the proportional voting system. During this process, there has always been 2 groups within the SLFP, the left and the right. This internal dispute has always been there democratically. In the end, from these 2 groups in the SLFP, the right wing always triumphed and the left wing always strayed towards racism. This could be quite evident today as well.
United National Party parliamentarian Buddhika Pathirana was appointed as chairman of the Martyrs District Coordinating Committee. The parliamentarian said that he received a letter of appointment from the president.
ජාතික සංවර්ධන සැලසුම් වලට අනුකූලව මාතර දිස්ත්‍රික්ක රාජ්‍ය ආයතන අර්ධ රාජ්‍ය ආයතන රාජ්‍ය නවනායක
The leadership for all matters concerning coordination, implementation and following up of all development activities of all state and semi-government institutions in the Martyrs District in accordance with the National Development Framework has been vested with the District Development Committee under my chairmanship. So this great duty and responsibility which has been vested upon me is the victory which has been given to me by the people of the Martyrs District, who continuously voted for me at 2 provincial council elections and 2 parliamentary elections, and with that placing me at the top spot in the district.
Matters surrounding Avant-Garde were discussed on the Newsline program that was aired this morning.
Tell me, Hemant, what do you make of this Avant-Garde? Is it wrong? Why is it wrong? Tell us.
I think Prime Minister made a statement in Parliament saying that we do not know whether these arms were sold to various other terrorist organizations, including Boko Haram. And thereafter, the CID was very interested and very enthusiastic, and they complete investigation. I think we must thank the CID.
But what is wrong?
Yeah, but what is wrong? Then after the investigation, they found they said of course the CID doesn't act independently. They always want the advice of the Attorney General to prosecute or file a B report and various things. Sarath Fonseka went through, took about 3-4 days, and then even I was interested. He said no, it's not ready. 3-4 days. Then after that, he wrote a long report and said that all the accused, or all these people whose name transpires, including Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa, was arrested and produced in court. And he said on the basis of they violated the firearms ordinance, offensive weapons ordinance, and also the Prevention of Terrorism Act.
Right.
Now, you know, Prevention of Terrorism, there is no bail. Right? Yeah. You have to be in remand for a number of years. Right? Yeah. And then I think the Solicitor General was rather concerned. He said, no, we must, or the Attorney General, then took this report and sent it to the most senior officer doing criminal law, Mr. Suhada Kamlat, the Solicitor General. It was given to him, and also it was given to Mr. Jayanta Jayasuriya, that is the senior additional Solicitor General, and Mr. Kapila Vaidyaratna, also senior additional Solicitor General, and to Sarath Jayaman was rather junior, also additional. All 3 are President's Council. Now they had to comment on the report. Now this is also rather unusual. This doesn't happen, you know.
So it was a departure from tradition.
It was a departure from tradition. Then what happened? The 3 senior most state council, two senior most state council additional solicitor generals, Kapila Vaidyaratna and Jayanta Jayasuriya, decided. Said that yes, we agree with the merit made by Mr. Vasantha Navaratna Bandara, but with one variation. The variation was that they should not be arrested on the Prevention of Terrorism Act. But there is definitely a case for having possessed weapons without a license.
What is the role of the Minister of Justice in all this?
They're absolutely wrong. Minister of Justice, I believe, if he said that I will not permit Gotabaya Rajapaksa be arrested, I think he should not remain as the Minister of Justice for one single day.
Because if there is a due process of law, then why should the Minister or the Prime Minister?
This is completely against the spirit of Yahaparane.
Leader of the Democratic Party, Field Marshal Sarath Fonseka, convened a media briefing in Colombo today.
At the media briefing, Sarath Fonseka responded to an audio clip that was released by a group of employees of Avant-Garde that stated his name and claimed that he accepted a bribe.
The
individual named Kapila Ratnayaka, who worked in our office, is a fraudster. I have even filed a case against him. The organizer of my party too has filed a case. I think that at least in the future, Senadipati must learn a lesson. Everyone cannot be controlled with money. If I am to bow down to his 30 million rupees, I could have bowed down to the 2,000 million rupees offered to me by Mahinda Rajapaksa during the presidential election.
Senadipati මේ කරන දේ මෝරුන් අතරේ මැක්කෙක් වගේ වැඩක් ව්‍යායාමයක්.
I can tell you with a clear conscience that I have not become helpless as to accept money to eat from Senadipati.
Sarath Fonseka displayed a number of pictures and elaborated on them.
Disneyland. The next one, in that you can see Senadipati's wife inside Disneyland. Senadipati was in this corner. Minister of Justice Vijayadasa Rajapaksa can be seen wearing a pink shirt. This is what Vijayadasa Rajapaksa was challenged on 1 week ago. I challenged him a week ago on this matter. As to whether he has connections with the chairman of Avantgarde, since that day, Vijayadasa Rajapaksa has been extremely silent and in fear has not spoken a word on that matter. I kindly request him to give an answer on that matter even now.
දැන්වත් උත්තරයක් දෙන්න කියලා අපි ඉතාලම බගාපත් එතුමාගෙන් ඉල්ලා සිටිනවා.
Well, let's take a listen to the comments made by Minister Faisal Mustafa on the local government elections.
We are working towards having the next local government election in March next year. We have received about 550 appeals, that is a delimitation appeal committee, but we hope to expedite those appeals and hold the election in March next year.
News First Shamir Rasuldeen spoke to Deputy Minister Dr. Harsha De Silva today to make further clarifications over the statement he made in Parliament yesterday on the Sri Lankan housemaid who is sentenced to be stoned to death in Saudi Arabia.
Your submission in Parliament yesterday, Dr. De Silva, what does it really mean?
Well, what it means is that after the appeal was lodged by the lawyers on behalf of the person concerned, to the what's called the Central Court has decided on that appeal.
Doctor, who would be appearing on behalf of the victim, the Sri Lankan national, during the appeal process?
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Saudi Arabian Embassy, Sri Lankan Embassy in Saudi Arabia, and the Ministry of Foreign Employment. We, the Foreign Ministry and the Embassy, got to know of this case, much later, should have perhaps been informed by the concerned parties.
You said you all were informed by the concerned parties much later. Who are you referring to, Dr. De Silva? Is it the Saudi embassy officials or the Saudi government itself?
We were informed of this only much later in the year. And the moment we got to know, we got activated. There are hundreds of thousands of Sri Lankan people in Saudi Arabia. And the embassy is not physically able to keep track of every person, and you would agree with me on that.
Sri Lankans working overseas bring in the highest revenue in terms of the country's economy, in terms of the country's foreign exchange, Dr. De Silva. I am surprised when you're saying 100,000 Sri Lankans are working overseas and that your government cannot be held accountable for them.
We are not at all saying we are not accountable or we are not concerned about these men and women who are working there. What we are saying is within humanly possible scope, we keep a track of what's going on with our citizens overseas.
Reports clearly indicate, Dr. De Silva, that the woman in question was ill-advised. She had confessed to the murder. She had a second option as well, that is to ensure that she asked 3 witnesses, independent men, to come on board and testify before the court about the crime that was committed. Why was she ill-advised, and who advised her, Dr. De Silva?
A certain amount of advice is given to everyone who goes, and a certain amount of training is given. I don't want to get into the details of this case because it is very sensitive.
Role of the Foreign Employment Bureau in Sri Lanka, they do train, but they do train people not on the laws of that country, but on what they should do to look after kids, to be a housemaid, so on and so forth. Isn't it apt for the Foreign Employment Bureau to step in and train individuals about the laws governing those countries?
I think you're right. I think we need to start looking at expanding the scope of this quote-unquote training, and it should include the basic legal framework, legal structure of these countries that they go to.
Empower the Woman, a campaign aimed to promote equality and security for women, entered its 7th day today.
जीवित
The campaign, which is travelling from village to village, bringing women together, commenced its journey today from Dambulla. A large crowd, including women, gathered at the Dambulla main bus stop to raise their voice on women empowerment. Representatives of Women's Aid Organisation, National Youth Services Council and Regional Women's Union in Dambulla were present at the event today. Members of the societies in the area were also present at the event. At a time when there are a number of organizations from the public and private sector working for women, the Sarath Media Network coming to Dambulla and organizing this is highly commendable. Handbills were distributed to the masses in the area and views and suggestions for a proposal aimed at women were sought during the campaign. Women from Dambulla and surrounding areas built a human chain to mark the occasion. Officials of the Women's and Children's Bureau also attended the event. We want to move ahead. We can do better than men. We appreciate the strength provided by the Sarath Media Network. This is a great deed. We thank the Sarath Media Network for this initiative. May you be blessed for organizing this for the women. The team which set off from the north arrived in Ampara today. The awareness program took place at the auditorium of the Alaya Divemba Divisional Secretariat. Handbills were distributed in the Ampara town today, marking another phase of the awareness program. We as women commend this. We thank you for bringing the women of Ampara together. Such a program has never taken place here. We thank the Sarath Media Network for organizing this. The Newsfirst team went from door to door in the Suduvalla and Kotavehera areas, raising awareness and also gave them an opportunity to express their thoughts. The Empower the Woman campaign is a joint initiative of Newsfirst, Sarath and Shakti, together with the Sri Lanka Police, the Ministry of Provincial Councils and Local Government and the District and Divisional Secretariats.
And with that, we wrap up today's edition of Primetime News. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Mahina Bongzo.
And I'm Shahan Rampati. Good night and take care.